So I thank you all for joining me. And this is actually the basis of this conversation is really the basis of this channel. I use music and guitar to actually, facilitate a way to demonstrate creativity and not just talk about creativity all the time. Okay. This could very well be a channel that is about art or about, just a way to actually, again, demonstrate or practice your creativity on, or, you know what I'm saying? Whatever. And so, with that in mind, this channel is about inspiring creativity. Okay. So, but the videos that I have are not all talks like this. Okay. It's a lot, it's mainly music stuff. So, periodically, I put this stuff up. So, and my whole life is about inspiring creativity. That's heavily a part of the conversation when I'm talking to my friends. I typically ask them, hey, have you exercised creativity lately or something like that? And some people, you don't have to ask that question. You can see what's happening, but some people you do have to ask and everything. So the title of the video is Creative Constipation. Most of us know what constipation means. It's basically when we eat food and the food doesn't pass appropriately because of lack of fiber and lack of water. The food doesn't pass. The food does not eliminate, and it can result in weight gain or sometimes disease, and other things that are just not very pleasant. You know what I'm saying? You want that to pass. That's like a regular thing, and it can cause some discomfort. It can cause a lack of quality of life and all those things. Well, I believe that when it comes to creativity, there's this, let me put a slight, bookmark on that. There's a way that I like to look at things like a coin. There are two sides to every coin. It doesn't always look the same in the sense of extremes necessarily, but there's always going to be another side, another perspective of something, but not necessarily polar opposites. So don't think polar opposites. Don't think that. Just think on one side of the coin is this, and on the other side of the coin it is this. That's it. All right. Well, anyhow, I think of creativity this way. Think in terms of a river. So I've already brought up the food analogy, and eating and not eliminating and that causing constipation. A good river flows. You know what I'm saying? Like a healthy river, a clean river, it flows, and I think of where a river flows from, like the ocean and sea and stuff like that. That's typically where the supply is going to come from. And typically it flows from that, and it might flow back around, and it might either there's drainage or there's flowing back to the ocean or whatever, somehow it works out. When there is not drainage or a flow back into the ocean or whatever, if the water is just standing, it's a swamp. That's like the constipation. So it's meant to flow. Creativity has to flow. Okay? It has to. If it does not, it will cause discomfort, just like the food you're not eliminating. If the creativity is not flowing the right way, the same thing is going to happen. So, to this next part, when we're being entertained and we're just experiencing life, sometimes we think of content as just the things that we see on the screen, but really content is all the things that we see. It's everything, it's the contents of what we're seeing. It could be getting cut off in traffic. It could be a horrible life event that we experienced. It could be a love gesture that feels great. These things are being absorbed, and it's creating an emotion. And then that's happening on top of the things that we experience via entertainment, on top of the music that we hear and the conversations that we have. All of that stuff is happening. We read books. All of that stuff is happening. So if you think about that, it's stacking. And when we're experiencing those things and we don't give ourselves a chance to actually eliminate by being creative, like demonstrating the creativity, writing it down, journaling. Many of us are good at journaling. I don't journal. It's not something that I do, but I do stuff on YouTube. Prior to YouTube, I was very much into drawing and painting. And, along with that, I would practice an instrument or, I would do something. You see what I'm saying? You got to get the stuff out. You got to go do something. where you're not being entertained necessarily, but you're out in some senses either providing the entertainment or you are creating entertainment. Well, that's the same thing. I was about to say creating entertainment for others, but you're just getting the energy out, whatever you want to call that. But a lot of times we get stuck. We get stuck into this rut where we don't feel creative. One thing that happens that I hate is that when we make an attempt and we do something creative, and it's like a creative work. It's maybe you tried some acting, maybe you sold a garment or designed a garment or whatever, or maybe it's just some type of artsy thing, and somebody saw it and they didn't give you good feedback. It wasn't constructive at all. It actually kind of broke you down a little bit, and maybe you're someone who doesn't take that very well, and that was the seed of thought that kind of started on a trajectory to allowing you to think that you're not creative. And maybe that was a long time ago. And, whatever. The thing is, that's not true. It's just that something happened. Somebody lied to you, basically. And sometimes that happens. And sometimes we don't have the people or a person there to say, hey, listen, that person was not telling you the truth. And especially if you're a child, it's like, what do you do? Like children are going to say things to themselves. And if no one comes along and says, hey, here's a better way to think about that, we end up taking that and living with that. And it ends up becoming like an inner vow that you live off of. And you start to qualify yourself and define yourself as something that's not even true. I hate that. It actually, like, I'm a person who actually cares about, strangely, well, not strangely enough, but I care about people's creativity. I care about how a person feels about their creativity. And I care about whether or not someone thinks that they're creative. I care about that. Like sometimes that it brings me to tears a little bit, I really care about that. I care about people knowing that they are creative. I could spend the rest of my life reminding people you are creative. Don't forget about yourself. Don't forget about, your innocence. Like, don't forget about that. Your creativity, your imagination, all that stuff is tied to your innocence and the person who you were before all the responsibility came. All the responsibility comes and we forget. We start to become forgetful. So the more that you can practice being creative, the more it can remind you of who you really are. There's like just a connection there. Okay. So on to the next part of my thing or whatever. So the human brain is good at establishing habits. Okay. And that's on the good side and the bad side, or that's on the action side and the not taking action side as well. So it's like when we do something, it's easier for us to do it again. And when we say no to something or we don't do something, it's easier for us to say no again. But a lot of times we don't monitor that interaction or exchange or expenditure. We don't monitor that. So we do things like we create commitments. In other words, we agree to things that sometimes we don't count the costs and we don't ask ourselves, like, is this something that I really want to do? Sometimes that happens. Sometimes we are overly stimulated and entertained, and we add one more like mode of entertainment. And over time, we don't know that we should maybe kind of scale back because this thing is actually, it's ultimately becoming a distraction. And then another distraction we create responsibilities. Some people are just into fixing people. Some people are into just having another bill to pay. Some people are into always hanging out with friends. Whatever it is, okay? I think that it's worth looking at the distractions that you create. And any of those things that I mentioned, done in like excess, can be a distraction because friends are good. And we need bills to an extent because we may want to pay for some conveniences, but not all. And sometimes we want to feel busy. Some of us pride ourselves on just, we got something to do. We want to fill our schedule. And we forget that like we're the common denominator in the whole picture, and we forget to like stop and then pour back into ourselves. So and we stay like just always in the mix all the time, and we wonder why we can't be creative. Like, you got to wait for your mind to settle a little bit, you know. So but there's nothing wrong with doing those things. But you know, like the drink, how the drink, like the juices and stuff, it says shake well before consuming or shake well before drinking. Like, stop the shaking for a minute and wait for all the pulp to just fall down to the bottom. Just wait for that to happen. You know, kind of use that as an illustration in terms of the things that you're thinking. The thing is, there's still juice there, but there's a separation between the actual pulp and the juice. You know, wait for everything to settle for a minute. Just give it time to settle. And I feel like it's good to let that happen so that you can just see the separation. And when you're ready to deliver, you know, shake it up again. I just think that mentally it's a good thing to let your thoughts settle a little bit, because I feel like all the things will like either fade away or they'll like, you know, sink down to the bottom. But I like to think of what's left as the stuff that is always going to be there. Those are the things that you've been thinking about anyway. But when you start shaking stuff up, it's all mixed in with the creativity that only belongs to you. So those are some things that I like to keep in mind. Okay. So creative constipation. It says, I wrote this. Well, I didn't write it. I just Googled it. And it's in line with how I think about it. But it says creative constipation happens when too many ideas back up in your head. Your self-expression feels hopelessly blocked. And it isn't a lack of inspiration. It's a log jam. So think of, you know, I'm going to give you all sorts of analogies, but think of like, you know, an assembly line, and you have workers packing the boxes, putting labels on the boxes and everything. And those workers are processing those orders. And as they're processing those orders, those boxes are getting stacked, labeled, packed, stacked, all that stuff, right? If those assembly line workers stop doing what they're doing, those boxes start to pile up at the end. And if no one's there doing that stuff intentionally, it becomes a jam. Like it creates a disruption. And now somebody has to go and they have to go get all the boxes. Like, it becomes like a whole process. Now think of people who haven't really done the work. They haven't stopped to actually service themselves in that aspect or correct it for years, months. It's crazy. You're doing a disservice to yourself. You know, like when on the shows when people say, you disgust me, you know, they say the whole thing. I say, you just tripping. Stop tripping, yo. Don't do that. You're hurting yourself. But the thing is, the cares of this world can definitely trick us into not being creative. But this is even more the reason why we should make being creative a practice, because our brains want to repeat things. So we have to get into the momentum of doing that so that our brains can remind us, hey, go be creative. But what has happened is our brains are reminding us to be creative. So therefore we don't even think that it's a thing that we should do. I feel like being creative is important because and having, like, using social media, like having a YouTube account, all that other stuff, it's not necessary. But one reason that it is very useful is because it will give you analytics. Like, it'll give you measurement, like it'll measure your progress, and you don't have to use it as law, you know. But if you don't use YouTube or anything like that, I think that you can create some sort of consistency so that you can measure your progress some kind of way, you know. Give yourself something, all right? Now, or rather, I'll say give yourself something to actually think back on, okay? If you're not creating instances of being creative, you don't have anything to measure. So that's like really important. But if you deliberately do something, I don't care if it's 5 minutes at a time that you're doing whatever it is that you're doing, do something and measure it. So a way that you can measure it is by saying, hey, every Monday at this time for 5 minutes, I'm going to do this. And if you commit to that, the time is going to pass anyway. That's the thing. That's one part that we forget. We think that, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. Okay. If you keep thinking that, that time is going to pass. But if you start creating the moments, just in making them small and bite size, don't think too like grand with everything. You'll look back and you got a body of work off the 5 minutes. So taking 5 minutes for 4 days turns into 20 minutes. I'm saying it's worth something. 5 minutes is worth something because the time passes anyway. So we can't even take 5 minutes for granted when it comes to creating something or when it comes to just being creative. Okay? Please keep that in mind. So here's something that I want to mention, and this is purely perspective. Purely perspective. Let's look at the word ignorant. Now, if we were to define the word ignorant, and I, got this out the dictionary as well, so I would just have something to read. But we all know that it's like absent of knowledge or something like that, right? But it says lacking knowledge, lacking education, lacking awareness. It describes someone who does not know things they generally should, or who is uninformed about a specific subject. So that's how you define ignorant. Okay. Anytime I look at words, anytime I see if I can like dissect them. So I see a root word there, and it is ignore. The word ignore means it is to deliberately pay no attention to, disregard, or fail to recognize something or something. It comes from the Latin word ignorare or ignorare, whatever, meaning to have no knowledge of. The word ignore. So when you define ignore, it says to deliberately pay no attention to. Then we have this word ignorant, and it says meaning lacking knowledge, lacking education. But the root word of ignorant is deliberately paying no attention to. We got to pay attention to our creativity. Pay attention to our patterns, the things that we do. Pay attention. Pay attention to the way that you're thinking. Are you speaking in line with how you're thinking? Do you think higher than you speak? Is it worth adjusting your speech to how you think? Is it worth doing that? When it comes to, let's say, phrases like figures of speech, are we adopting figures of speech as our own, just like randomly because we heard it? Or do we take inventory of the things that we hear and say to ourselves, you know what, I'm not going to say that? Because ultimately, I'm just saying all these things are adding to our bandwidth. Is it speaking against how you can think? Or is it actually fostering a creative mindset? And I'm talking about the figure of speech. Something like, I should have written an example, but let's say this. I'm actually big on this. Somebody gonna get me for this. But the word download, somebody's like, yeah, you need to get the download. And people be like, yes. Say that. Say that. You need to get the download. You need to understand, I'm like, okay. And so I'm the kind of person, I'm pretty calculated about certain things, not everything, but I tend to evaluate the stuff that's being said around me, maybe in a different way. And I don't necessarily adopt everything that people say, because it just makes me feel like I'm just in the operation with everybody else. But the word download on a computer, it means the process of transferring data, such as files, software, or media. That's what that means, right? So when we're talking about it in like a message standpoint, and we're listening to a speaker, and it's like, they're like, get the download, now get the download. It's like, okay, cool. Figure of speech. All right, we get it. Get the download, transfer the messages, transfer the information. But I'm thinking, because I know how to build a computer, right? I know what goes into building a computer. I'm like, but wouldn't you want to install it? And some of y'all like, you nerd, whatever. Think about it how you want to think about it. This is how I think about it. I'm like, but shouldn't you get the install? Here's what install means. It means to set up or place something in position so that it is ready for use. It's ready for use. It's ready to be used. Are you getting the information, or are you ready to use the information? And we stuck on the download stuff, and it's a figure of speech. But is the figure of speech making people feel that in their own pride that they have the knowledge, but they don't want to use it. So I'm just saying, inherently, you're getting the download. You're getting the message, but you don't use it because you got the download. So what? Who cares about a download? Get the install, yo. So all these things contributes to our creativity, our bandwidth, how we're actually using it. Are you ignoring your creativity? Are you being distracted? Is this bringing about creative constipation? Now, on a day-to-day basis. So right now, here's the practical part, because it can feel quite figurative, in talking about it and having a conversation about it. It can feel very figurative. Well, after being figurative, now it's time to actually, bring some practicality to it. So I would say it's worth it on a sheet of paper or a document. Okay. I may actually I did a document, that is a spreadsheet, and it has 2 columns, several rows. On one side is a column that you can write down your normal schedule in a day, okay? But include everything. When you wake up, meals, getting dressed, how long that typically takes. Just write it down. You don't have to sit down and do it every day, but I'm saying you can take 10 minutes, 5 minutes, and just write down what happens in a day. It's worth doing. Here's the thing. We work within other people's systems, and we don't create a system for ourselves. Create a system for yourself in your life. We want to get a job and work within somebody else's system. We learn how to work within that system, but we don't create a system for ourselves. This is sort of a way that you can create a system for yourself. You're ignoring yourself by doing that. Like if you don't do that. Other people are creating frameworks. We work within their framework. Create a framework for yourself. Creativity is not going to be very useful if you do not create a framework. I mean, the smallest, most simple framework. Okay, so this 2-column spreadsheet is sort of a way to, what did I even name it? It is a way to do creative mapping. Okay, that's the word I was trying to find. You got to do creative mapping. Okay, you got to have a framework for that. And this is the way that you can start it out. Okay. Anyway, do the stuff. When do you wake up? When do you get dressed? Do you drink coffee? Do you drink tea? You do a devotional, whatever. Let's say you get dressed. It takes you 5 minutes to get dressed. If you put on makeup, how long does that take? Just roughly, just put it down. Put it down. After you finish everything, you pretty much have everything listed, how much time it takes roughly, and all of it. Absolutely all of it should equal to 24 hours. If you want, you can put starting at 12 a.m. all the way to 11:59 p.m. Just put it down. The thing is, we do other stuff. We make time for other stuff. We make time for other things, and we don't want to take 5 minutes and write something like this down. You tripping. Stop and write the stuff down. This is one of the reasons, like when I'm teaching guitar, I'm just like, okay, put the time in. Like, you're saying that you want to practice this stuff. And it's for me, it's not about forcing you to do it. It's about you trusting yourself enough to do something that you said that you wanted to do. And I'm here to help you to do. But if you come back to me and say you didn't do this or that, I'm like, okay, well, you didn't put the work in. There's no reason to give excuses. You just didn't put the work in. And the thing about it is that's okay. But don't deceive yourself. Don't do that. Don't lie to yourself. Now, on the right side of the paper, write down all the things that you would like to do in a day. It might be, and right now I'm not talking about long-term goals. I'm talking about, now it might lead to a long-term objective. It may, but write down things that you really want to insert into that, however big or small it is, but you're not doing right now. And it might be, I want to have, an hour or two for this thing. I want to start a YouTube channel, or I want to go to the gym, or some of y'all just need to wake up earlier. Bet you don't want to do that, do you? But some of you are willing to do that, and some of you are not willing to do that. Sometimes unwillingness is the distraction. So if you're unwilling, okay, well, you need to address that. Go get willing. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, just put the stuff that you want to happen. Now it's going to require you to decide and to do it and to start small. And if you don't keep it, if you don't keep that promise to yourself, don't beat yourself up. Like, have some grace. You know what I'm saying? But you can do it though. And at some point it needs to stick if it doesn't the first time. Now, you got the stuff on the right side. And these are things that, again, things that you want to happen in a day that you're not currently doing. The stuff on the left is the stuff that you do. Maybe over the years, you've added stuff in your daily schedule. You didn't intend to add all that stuff. It's just what happens. On the way to work, I do this. I stop at Starbucks. I stop at Dunkin' Donuts. I, get to work maybe 5 minutes earlier, which is great. You know what I'm saying? That's a good practice. You get to work, you ain't got to say what you do at work. Just say when you go to lunch, maybe. And what you do on your lunch break. Maybe you eat, and that's all you do. But you got time on your lunch break to do something for you, though. You don't have to eat with friends every single time or coworkers every single time you go to lunch. You don't have to do that. You can do it, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes I'm speaking about like when are you going to add to yourself? When are you going to foster an environment for your creativity to actually thrive and grow? And then from that time, you clock back into work. Then you get off work at some point. You clock out. Your commute back from work to home or to pick up kids or to whatever. If your kids, if you're dropping your kids off to somewhere, maybe they play soccer or something like that. What are you doing when they're playing soccer? And are you watching the game, which is cool? Or is it okay for you to take 5 minutes to do something for you? Sitting right there, just jot something down. Okay, cool. Time to get home. We're home. It's time to prepare for tomorrow. But before you do that, is it worth just sitting down, taking 5 minutes, 30 minutes to just do something? Log an idea down. Write down the introduction to a book and the bullet points. You ain't got to do the whole thing. I'm just saying, just do something. And then maybe tomorrow you can do the first paragraph. You know what I'm saying? During that 30 minutes. So now, left side is just the schedule of your day, weekday, whatever. Right side is all the things that you want to achieve in a day, but you haven't done it. Okay. And, you can include the weekends to say, you can say, okay, Saturdays is my day. I just can't do it on the weekends. I'm just not in the mind frame to get into it. Okay, cool. Whatever works for you. I don't think that's true, but okay, I give you that. Because the thing is, you can do something Monday through Friday so that when Saturday comes, you're ready to go. Don't do everything on Saturday. Set the foundation at least for Saturday. Then it's time to start picking away at it, okay? And it's time to start actually transacting those items that's on the left and right column, the left and right columns. So you're going to have to decide, what in the left column can I take away? Can I take away Dunkin' Donuts? Can I take away Starbucks? Can I take away like cutting down the amount of time that it takes for me to get dressed? Can I cut away? Can I decide on what I'm going to wear for the week on Sunday? And I just decide all the outfits that I'm going to wear. And it cuts down on the bandwidth that I'm actually going to use. Bandwidth is very utilize it properly. I do it as best as I can do it, but I'm just saying, I think about my bandwidth. Can I actually handle, the thing is, we all can do stuff. We all can just do stuff. And we can pride ourselves on being able to get a lot done, but so what? Don't nobody care. No one cares about how much stuff you can get done. How many things are you doing for yourself? I'm talking about your creativity. Are you able to fill yourself up to such a point to where you overflow and then that just gets on other people? You know what I'm saying? Can that be the situation, or you just want to habitually just be there? Well, your brain does that automatically because it's a habit. But let's just say after you go through whatever it is that you go through on the left column, you figured out, you know what? I just freed up 2 hours. Maybe a part of that left list was, okay, when I get home, I watch my my program. I watch my shows because I've done it for years. And the thing is, when we do something habitually like that and we protect it, listen, I worked for 10 hours. When I get home, I'll watch my shows. Don't nobody care about your shows. It don't take that long to decompress. And if you think about it, the shows that you're watching, you know what I'm about to say? What I'm about to say. The shows that you're watching, somebody sat down, somebody took the time to actually be creative for you to enjoy it. You're on that side of consuming it and you're not sitting down creating something for somebody else to enjoy. That's where the constipation starts to happen. And that is hurtful. Okay. Somebody's like, Kesheaf, it ain't even that deep, brother. It ain't. I'm like, okay, whatever. Okay, whatever. I'm one of those people. I'll bring it to you and I'll say what I have to say. Then after that, I'm still going to love you. I'm going to still be happy to see you. And I'm not going to bring it up, unless you come by my channel. If you come by my channel, you come into my world, this is what we're talking about. You come in my house, this is what we're talking about. I mean, it's a mission statement of my house that I have, and it's about this. But anyhow, when you do the columns, you do the creative mapping, okay, or it's starting the process, of creative mapping. You start to actually free up space in your mind, when it's really freeing up space in the schedule of your day. And now you can start to use these pockets of time to start to plug in the things that you want to place there. Because the thing is, we get a job, they tell us and they train us on what to do. And they basically give you something and it is incentivized so we feel motivated, okay? And we do it. But you know that you can create something for yourself to do in that same way. And the incentive is my creativity gets stronger. And the creativity can create products, can solve problems to pay you more than what the job is giving you. You don't have to wait till you're 80 years old. No offense to my elders who don't feel like they're creative and they're just starting. It's not too late for you either. But you don't have to wait. You didn't have to wait. You're creative too. You don't have to wait till you retire to be creative, to find a creative hobby. A lot of the people on my channel, my analytics tell me that, a lot of you are people who, you've learned that you want something creative to actually focus on, which is great, but you didn't have to wait until now. You didn't, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't necessary, but we're told that we got to work. And what that sounds like to me is, okay, work. We're working on something that somebody else created. We're working within that. So it's like, take some of that time and build something yourself. Create a body of work, solve a problem. And that's what it's there for. Write down your ideas, chip away at your schedule, create pockets of time on the left side of the column and take from that right side and start plugging stuff in little by little and get it done. And if you're alive, it's not too late. Love yourself. The only way that you can properly love others is if you love yourself. These are instructions from God. We don't create ideas on our own. I strongly believe that, these are messages from God, because if he can get it to our heads through our creativity and we can start to get the work, it comes through our hands and then it goes to people. It starts to help people, and God wants to help people. So act like you care and allow for your creativity to be active so that you can serve people. Working a job is not all that you're meant to do. I'm sure that you are fulfilling a huge purpose through your job, but the purpose that's inside of you might be bigger than the job that you're working. So I think that my job here is done until the next video. But ultimately, I'm here to remind you to just, stay creative. Like, don't rely on inspiration in the sense that you got to muster it up. Just keep it active. Work it in like 5 minutes a day. Chip away on that left side. Chip away on that. Chip away from it, rather. You don't need Starbucks every day. Not every day. You're already spending $30 a week. I'm just saying, you don't need it every single day. Some of y'all spending $30 in one, thing, but I'm just saying, you think you're not spending much by spending $5 or $6 here and there. You could be using the $30 a week, the $60 every 2 weeks, the $120 every month, and invest into your creativity. Take away from the right side of the list and add it to the left side to fill what you've taken away from that. So you could take away the trip to Starbucks, which usually takes 15 minutes in the drive-through, or 30 minutes sitting down to just kind of whatever, or 5 minutes, whatever it is. Chip that away. And then chip away the TV after work, and then chip away the this or the that. Okay? Some of you may need to leave home earlier so that the traffic isn't as backed up. If you leave, say for instance, at 8 a.m., it's going to take you an hour to get to work. Whereas if you leave at 7:30, let's just say, because the traffic isn't as bad, it might take 30 minutes for you to get to work. That's 30 minutes that's added to your time. The actual commute is your time. And if your time, if time is money, some people say that time is money. Some people believe that time is more valuable than money. So I don't know who I'm talking to as far as that. But if time is money, you can utilize your time more wisely. If time is worth more than money to you, it's kind of a different conversation. I like that too, though. Use it wisely. Don't take that commute for granted. You know what I'm saying? Use that commute wisely. Or if you just don't want to drive as long, leave earlier when the traffic isn't as heavy. If you have kids, let the kids get involved in what you're doing. Hire them. Hey, come set up this camera. Hey, can you, I'm going to record this thing. Can you tell me what you think about it? In their opinion, their outlook is very important because, youth, we need their input. I'm not saying they make the world go around, but it's like whatever's happened in that arena kind of determines what happens, at large a lot of times. But I think I'm done. And I hope that I was heard. Even if I was not heard, I know that I did what I was supposed to do on this video because I was instructed to remind you to stop tripping. All right. I love you. See you later. All right, y'all. We're going to get back on these guitar videos. Peace.